Hi, folks. The terrorist campaign by the Zionist entity in Gaza was just the beginning of the crisis in greater West Asia. We are now seeing an expansion of that crisis in full force into Lebanon, even as Hezbollah denies having participated in the recent attack on Israel. Without any investigation, which is what Hezbollah has called for, Israel is planning to launch a full-scale attack on Lebanon. Now, what happens if Hezbollah is right? What happens if Hezbollah had nothing to do with it? Will that bring back all of the countless souls who have died in these escapades by the Zionist entity back from the dead? No, not at all. And yet the colonial power occupying indigenous land in Palestine is determined to establish its firm footprint in that part of the world once again. It is really a tragedy. It can make potentially what happens in Gaza. And I don't like saying this because I don't want to underrate what happens in Gaza. That is not my intent. But it can make it seem like child's play. And I say that because of the scale, not because of the lives lost, but the scale. The scale can be enormous. But does it really matter whether it's Gaza, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Iran, whether it's the West Bank? No. It is all being done by Israel. What I wanted to do in this episode of my podcast is to read for you an article from USA Today, a very well-written article describing the current situation. Obviously, no one knows what will happen. Antony Blinken is urging restraint, but for Antony Blinken to urge restraint is like a wink and a nod. It has no significance, no power at all. There is no threat to withhold money or weapons from the Zionist entity. Instead, that money and that weapons will continue flooding into Israel, even as it engages in atrocities so horrendous that even the most experienced observer of that part of the world is forced to be confronted by shame. I know that is how I feel. Why? Because Israelis are as close as I can get in the world to my genealogical brethren. I am sure I am related to many of them. Not directly. I mean, maybe not first or second cousins, maybe third cousins, fourth cousins, something like that. I'm sure I have some people who are related to me who are Zionists living right now in the Zionist entity. And yet, here I am in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas with no power at all. No power except this mic. No power except my conscientization, my critical conscience and consciousness raising for whatever it is worth. And I'm beginning to think it is not worth much. That does not mean I won't keep on doing it. I will. I will. Even if I'm the last man standing, I will keep on doing it. That is not likely to happen, but I will. I will. That is my commitment to the Arabs in Greater West Asia. I am your voice, or one of your many voices. I will speak up for you, as little as that might matter in the long run. But I will speak up for you. I will be your advocate to some extent, and I don't know what that extent can be. Probably not very much. But I will still keep on talking. I will still keep on raising my voice, along with many other people who are raising their voices as well. And so I will now put on my glasses and read for you this very, I guess depressing is the right word for it. This very depressing article. And I really don't know where to go with it except to simply go ahead and read it, which is what I will do. You should see it on your screen right now. Israeli response to soccer field attack could tear Lebanon apart. Now, you will see who spoke those words. Those words were not spoken by Lebanese. Those words were spoken by an Israeli, a member of the Israeli government, who is saying what he wants to happen. Yeah. He wants to tear Lebanon apart. The author is John Bacon, and it was published today, July 28th, 2024. And here is the article. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged restraint after a rocket attack on a soccer field in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Note, Israeli-occupied. Occupied. Not a part of Israel. In the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, killed 12 children and teens. A strike that fueled outrage in Israel and pushed it to the edge of all-out war with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Let me pause there for a second. In case you don't know what Hezbollah is, Hezbollah is a Lebanese nationalist organization. In that sense, they are not like ISIS or Al-Qaeda. They are not Islamist. They are not trying to spread Islam all over the world or to establish necessarily an Islamic theocracy. They are trying to protect Lebanon. So in that sense, I guess you could call them a kind of paramilitary force. Blinken, speaking at a news conference in Tokyo, defended Israel's right to defend itself, but added, "It's so important that we help diffuse that conflict because you have so many people in both countries, in both Israel and Lebanon, who've been displaced from their homes." Another pause. Does the Israeli government care about the Lebanese citizens who have been displaced from their homes? I cannot answer that question. It is food for thought. That's all it is food for thought. Former War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz, who leads Israel's opposition National Union Party and is considered a possible successor to politically embattled Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, says Israel could react to the rocket attack by tearing Lebanon apart. There you go. It was Benny Gantz who said that. It was not a statement made out of fear by Lebanese or by Hezbollah, although I'm sure they've had similar thoughts. But for Benny Gantz, that was a direct threat on what he thinks, what he wants, and I guess what he believes Israel is about to do in Lebanon. Gantz told Israel's Channel 12 the Israeli military is ready, and I assume that is what we will see. Again, pause. That is not coming from an outside observer. That is coming from someone with inside knowledge on the situation right now in Israel, on the politics right now in Israel. He knows what he is talking about. He is not making a mere threat or an empty threat. What he says matters. And I think it provides an indication of what we are likely to see, maybe even in the coming hours. It is now 11:12 p.m. on Sunday where I am. I will go to sleep in about an hour. I would not be surprised, although I have no way of knowing this, if this attack had already started or maybe completed by the time I wake up in the morning. We'll see. U.S. and Israeli officials dismissed vehement Hezbollah claims that the Iran-backed militant group was not responsible for the assault. Hezbollah has claimed allegiance to Palestinians in Gaza and has been firing rockets into Israel since October. The assaults have stepped up in recent weeks and drawn strong counterattacks from Israelis. This attack was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah. It was their rocket and launched from an area they control. National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson said in a statement Sunday, "That is an American official. It might as well have been an Israeli official. Is there really a difference? What one says, the other mirrors." Our support for Israel's security is ironclad and unwavering against all Iran-backed threats, including Hezbollah. Watson said the U.S. is working on a diplomatic solution along the Lebanon-Israeli border to end all attacks once and for all, and allow residents on both sides of the border to return to their homes. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. The question is, will that solution come soon enough to stop what Benny Gantz is talking about? It doesn't sound like it to me. I could be wrong, but my reading of it is that whatever the U.S. may do, it will be after the Israeli attack on Lebanon. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the attack Saturday, but also urged maximum restraint. He said children and civilians should not bear the burden of horrific violence plaguing the region. Netanyahu has pledged a tough response, and late Sunday, he received authorization from Israel's Security Cabinet to decide on the manner and timing of the country's reprisal. His office said, pause. That is all King Baby needs. That's all he needs. That's why I say that I am not optimistic that by the time I wake up tomorrow that this attack will not have either been started or completed. Lebanon may be in shambles, just like Gaza is now in shambles. Who's to say which place will be worse? Doesn't matter. As long as Israel is the bully on the block, as long as Israel is the only country with nuclear weapons, then Israel can do what it wants. And nobody in that region can stop them. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said Hezbollah will face the consequences, even with its ridiculous denials. We will ensure Hezbollah, the proxy of Iran, pays a price for this loss, Gallant said on social media. Lebanon has asked the U.S. to urge restraint from Israel. Lebanon Foreign Minister Abdullah Abu Habib said. He called for an international investigation of the attack, telling the Lebanese National News Agency he believes it was either carried out by some other militant group or was an accidental strike by Israel or Hezbollah. Okay, so why not have that investigation? Why not? Why not? How will it look for the Zionist entity if after it has wrecked and wreaked havoc on Lebanon, it is discovered that this statement is correct, that it was not even done by Lebanon, by Hezbollah, I should say. CIA Director William Burns was expected to meet Sunday in Rome with officials from Israel, Egypt, and Qatar for the latest rounds of talks aimed at a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of hostages from Hamas. A plan to send more than 100 sick Gazan children abroad for medical treatment will be postponed because of the soccer field attack, according to Israel's Khan public broadcaster. So little kids who did nothing wrong are paying the price for whatever happened. Little kids. This is from Chuck Schumer, perhaps one of the most evil men in the United States, I would say. Iran is the real evil in the Middle East, and Israel has the right to strike back hard at Hezbollah militants for the deadly rocket attack on the soccer field. Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York, my home state and my home city, said Sunday. Iran supports militant groups across the region, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and the Houthis in Yemen. Schumer, who has slammed Netanyahu's leadership but remains a fervent supporter of Israel, says Israel has every right to defend itself against Hezbollah. He, like Antony Blinken, urged efforts to de-escalate the growing crisis. Pause. What I just read did not sound like a call for de-escalation. Maybe I am delusional. Maybe I am missing something. It sounded like Schumer was making a call for escalation, not de-escalation. And yet he says that there should be efforts to de-escalate the growing crisis. BS. Israel seized the Golan Heights from Syria in 1967. Israel annexed the region more than a decade later over the objections of the international community, which does not recognize Israel's claim. The strike hit a Druze village that is home to ethnic Arabs. Should be pointed out that although the Druze are not Jews, they are related to Shia Muslims. They are a relatively secretive sect of Shia Islam. They are largely in support of Israel, largely. And they have actually fought in the IDF, in the Israeli Defense Forces. Back to the article. It shows you how bad Iran and its surrogates are. Schumer said on CBS's Face the Nation, these were Arab kids, and that is true. Druze are Arabs. They sent missiles at, and they don't even care. Former hostage Maya Regev, who was released in November after weeks in Hamas captivity, says she experienced cruelty from doctors in Gaza who treated her for a gunshot wound to the leg. They would really hurt me, Regev told Channel 12 News. When they wanted to see the wounds, they would purposely cause pain, would take chlorine, alcohol, and sometimes even something like apple cider vinegar, and would pour it in the wound and apply pressure. Whether that's true, I have no way of knowing. Maybe it is. If so, I'm sorry for her. Regev said she wanted to kick one doctor in the face, but he had a pistol, and I had nothing, so I shut up. At one point, she feared they would amputate her leg. Regev said she returned to Israel with a fungus growing inside her bone and has had numerous surgeries and still hopes to walk in the future. Regev was one of about 250 people seized by Hamas-led militants and brought back to Gaza during the October 7th rampage through Israeli border villages. Almost 1,200 people were killed in the raid, according to Israeli authorities. And that ends the article. I don't know what to make of any of it. I am relying upon sources that I cannot validate for myself. The story makes me angry, even though I can't check it out. I have no sources of my own. I wish I did. Maybe I will in the future. I'm working on that, believe it or not. I'm trying to get sources in that part of the world that I can speak with directly. I'm trying. Regardless, such a horrendous tragedy caused by colonialism. And so here we see a direct consequence of first world colonialism in the third world, in the fourth world. If there was ever a time for Maoism, third worldism, it is now. There's little more than I can do right now than resistance, making this podcast. If there is something more I can do, please let me know. Bear in mind, I'm 68 years old. I have osteoarthritis and osteoporosis. So my participation in any campaign would likely hold that campaign back. I would not be a favor to any military activity in that part of the world. If I thought I could be, I would. I would pick up right now and go. Right now. Right now. At this very moment, I would pick myself off of this office chair and go. But I don't know what I would do when I got there. And I don't even know that, given the nature of my podcasts, I would even be let into Israel. Maybe I would. But even if I would, where would I go? Could I get into Lebanon? I don't know. Maybe. Could I get into Gaza? That I can say no. So resistance as a Maoist third worldist seems to me the practical thing that I can do right now. I hope that changes in the near future. The near future. I hope that people in the third and fourth worlds initiate communist or revolutionary socialist activities, revolutions in their parts of the world, laying the groundwork for folks like me to come in from an imperialist country like the United States and do some good. Maybe help to deal with that imperialism. I'll put it very gently. I don't know how I would do that, but I hope I could. Still, I recognize that it is much too early for that. I genuinely wish that were not the case. You can't imagine, or maybe you can, how much I would like to be a participant in these activities, how much I would like to defend the Lebanese. I would. I would. But again, how could I? How could I? For the time being, this has been Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Institute for Dialectical Metarealism. Have a pleasant day and an even better day tomorrow.